Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to be ranking each individual fish in Genshin Impact by how attractive they are. Now, there are two specific qualities that any sexy fish needs. Number one, which is self-explanatory, is their looks. Do they stand out amongst the crowd of other fish, or are they doomed to the life of an obscure fish? The second point is their personality. Now, you can be the most visually stimulating fish. However, if you have the personality of an annoying white girl fish, well, you're definitely going to be losing some sexy points there. With these two things in mind, let us begin. First off, we have the Medaka. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say this fish does not visually stimulate my senses in terms of design. In fact, when I thought of the basic white girl fish tier, the Medaka was the first thing to come to my mind. Personality-wise, however, they are extremely energetic. This is likely due to their consumption of the undersea kush. And here, we do not support that lifestyle or that behavior. Next, we have the brown Shirakodai. The brown Shirakodai, although looking somewhat like a deformed turd, is actually very gentle by nature. It actually also has the nickname Queen of the Waters, and oftentimes it will have several male fish at its private abode to engage in acts of intimacy with, usually all in unison at the same time. With those 2 points put together, it's overall an above-average fish. Next, we have the lunge stickleback. Now visually, this is the least stimulating fish among the long and pointy fish category. In terms of personality, they are quite aggressive, often getting several restraining orders put into place by other fish for their violent tendencies. They also have the nickname the Cutter, cementing their dominant nature even further. We do not condone abuse here. Next, we have the golden koi. Now visually, this fish can stimulate a good portion of people without a doubt. And compared to the other fish we've been going through, this is the sexiest fish by a long shot so far. Personality-wise, although they look like a dommy daddy, they're actually the complete opposite. They're very timid by nature, and are often the bottom in most relationships they're a part of, which the fact that it's a complete contrast to its appearance, I find very wholesome. With all that in mind, this is a peak fish, without a doubt. Next, we have the Halcyon Jade Axe Marlin. The Jade Axe Marlin has a face where it looks constantly constipated and needs to poo. I will at least say that his shade of green is quite euphoric. Their personality out of all the fish thus far, well, to put simply, the Jade Axe Marlin is a Giga Chad. They're always chilling, oftentimes inviting homeless fish into their private abode, and overall, Jay just kinda like to sesh with them from time to time. He's the perfect amount of calm, chill, and a sexy, constipated-looking fish. Next, we have the Glaze Medaka. This majestic-looking fish is infinitely more attractive than its basic white girl sister counterpart, the Medaka. Like the Medaka as well, they are often quite energetic. However, the Glaze Medaka doesn't rely on substance abuse to maintain his energetic and happy lifestyle. Honestly, I think we can all learn a thing from this majestic Glaze Medaka, and overall, it will be going in the sexy-looking fish tier. Next, we have the purple Shirakodai. The purple Shirakodai, unlike his sister, who looks like a deformed turd, this one looks rather stimulating to the eye. Its purple is quite vibrant, and this majestic stallion never really has any issues finding a mate, which leads to its biggest flaw. This has resulted in overconfidence, and it will often laugh in the face of plebeian fish, who even just gaze at its majestic dorsal fin. In the end, it will only engage in acts of intimacy with high-class fish. To put it simply, the purple Shirakodai is a gold digger, a basic white girl fish. Next, we have the beta. Now, despite its name, it is significantly more of an alpha. A little too much of an alpha, in fact. Similar to his brother, the lunge stickleback, he is quite aggressive by nature, which usually results in him brutally murdering any potential mates. And if you do mate with him and you don't perform up to his standards, well, let's just say it will be ugly. Visually speaking, it is quite good looking, but at the end of the day, his looks can't save his abusive nature. Next up, we have the Rusty Koi. Now right off the bat, this might be the most Giga Chad kingpin fish on the list today. Cause I mean, come on, just look at it. Oh my god, I'm finna butt. Also, he does have the nickname Descendant of Dragons, which has nothing to do with attractiveness, but doesn't that just sound epic? Personality-wise, they are calm and reserved until you enter their domain without consent. Then the assault begins. This fish will also only mate with strong, independent partners. However, it's not to the point of arrogance. This fish is just that good, and it is a peak tantalizing fish. Next, we have the Lazurite Axe Marlin. Now visually, although looking constipated, they are quite attractive due to their gorgeous shade of blue. And although their strength is top class, they never exploit other fish because of it. No, they're too kind in nature for something like that. And honestly, the Lazurite Axe Marlin is just quite a gentleman overall, whether it be at the dinner table or in the fishy caves. With everything put together, this is a sexy and another constipated looking fish. Next, we have the Sweet Flower Medaka. Now this fish looks visually very attractive and calm looking due to its sun-like yellow color scheme. This fish is probably the most energetic fish on this entire list due to it being constantly under the influence of the undersea kush. You know the type of fish that's always so under the influence that it's just who they become, it being their normal lifestyle? That's what the Sweet Flower Medaka is. And you know what? I won't put him in quite disgusting, but he is still a basic white girl fish because we do not condone substance abuse. Next, we have the tea-colored Shirakodai. Now this fish looks somewhat like a rotten cabbage, but in a good way. Personality-wise, have you ever heard of Curious George? That would be the tea-colored Shirakodai. It's constantly inspecting things, whether it be another fish's rear end or just some undersea rocks. It's definitely unique in this sense amongst all the other fish, and due to its uniqueness, I will have to put it in an above average fish. Next, we have the venom spine fish. Although one of the more attractive fish from the long and pointy crew, it's unfortunately wanted for several counts of murder and sexual offenses. He is extremely aggressive, and his sharp pointy tip actually contains a poison, which it uses to paralyze its targets. To put it simply, if you see one of these fish, you should pull up your pants and run as fast as you can. Another fish going in quite disgusting. Next up, we have the puffer fish. Now, do you guys like your fish thick? Well, if you do, this fish is definitely for you. Now, in terms of personality, this puffer fish has an extremely good sense of humor and is not offended very easily. Honestly, I think we can all learn a thing or two from the majestic puffer fish. Although at points, it does take its practical jokes a little too far and can sometimes end up eating the other fish just for a good gag. However, I must say that comedy is always subjective, and overall, I will be putting him in an above average fish. Next, we have the peach of the deep waves. This fish is interesting because it does have the face of someone who just eats children. However, it's actually quite the opposite. They're actually very kind, caring, and well-mannered, and they'll always ask for consent before engaging in fishy activities. This is the type of fish that the parents will hate at first, but after a couple of months, they'll be at every family gathering. The only time this fish really gets angry is when others enter its home without permission. And to be honest, who wouldn't be? I'm surprising myself with this, but I am actually gonna put Peach of the Deep Waves into the one sexy looking fish category. Next, we have the Eisen Medaka. Although from a family of substance abusers for sure, the Aizen Medaka is actually very clean and doesn't suffer from exposure. It also has a very high tolerance of BS due to it having several family members that are very irritating to say the least. The only issue with it is that it is often ridiculed by the rest of the Medaka family for being so straight-laced, which does lower the Aizen Medaka's self-confidence. And honestly, this is debatably the most attractive Medaka from a visual standpoint. I do just want to give this Medaka a hug. With all that in mind, this is a sexy looking fish. Next, we have the abiding angelfish. This sophisticated fish has a tendency to attract any fish within a 200-meter radius. The issue with this fact is that it is unintentional, and it works almost like a form of hypnosis. So try not to picture it too much, but this fish has been on the receiving end of some acts of indecency, and that is putting it lightly. Unfortunately, because of this, it does have to go through a therapist on every single weekend due to the trauma it has endured. And although it is sexy and well-mannered, I can't help but feel a little bad for this queen. Even with that in mind, it is still a sexy-looking fish. Next, we have the Akai Mao. Here we have another fish, part of the group of domestic abuser fish. And well, is the Akai Mao different? Technically, no. It does still revel in the blood of its enemies, and is extremely violent, yes. But the Akai Mao is actually a lot more honorable than the rest of the family tree. It will brutally murder you, yes, but it will do so respectfully. And I do have to admire his color scheme. It is kinda gorgeous, especially when compared to the rest of the brothers and sisters. With all that put together, I'm gonna be putting him in the top of the above average fish. Debatably a sexy looking fish, but he is still too violent. Next, we have the bitter puffer fish. Now, bitter puffer fish over here is possibly the strongest fish in terms of pure strength. In fact, males and females of this species often try to kill each other by blasting high pressure water at each other. However, this is merely a test to see if they're potentially a worthy mate. Meaning, if you cannot survive a full blast of its load, you are not worthy to have his fish babies. Overall, I will say that the bitter puffer fish is a little less stimulating than his brother, but still, it is an above average fish. Next, we have the Sandstorm Angler. Our big yellow boy over here is actually potentially the oldest fish breed on this list. Researchers believe that they lived with the dinosaurs and almost went extinct due to the T-Rex's natural diet. However, they survived and are one of the more hardworking and docile fish unless provoked. And it also doesn't look as much like a serial killer than the Peach of the Deep Waves, its brother. Honestly, this fish is pretty cute overall, but it just feels like it's lacking a little something. But it's still an above average fish. Next, we have the Dawn Catcher. Visually, this fish is making me act up a little bit, but I don't think any of us can question it in the beauty department. In terms of personality, they're very much the type to enjoy a nice peace and a quiet-filled life. It is also said that the Dawn Catcher can predict the future. This is also probably why it will never get married, due to it seeing the potentially harmful effects of a marriage and what a wife and 3 kids would bring. Still, it is a very polite and good-looking fish, and to be honest, it doesn't really have any flaws, so it will be going at the bottom of peak fish. Next, we have the Ramey Angel fish. I never thought a fish that looks this baked could be this adorable. The color scheme, along with its majestic tail fin, it is very epic. This fish, however, is a big masochist. It derives pleasure from being shocked, and it is said that many other fish will hear them moaning significantly during a thunderstorm. So I think if you're a top, you'll enjoy the company of this fish quite a bit, but if you're not, it might just be a little weird. Overall, it is still a sexy looking fish. Next, we have the snow strider. The snow strider is the only fish from the sharp pointy tip group that is not constantly angry. They were once homicidal at one point, yes, but the snow striders found that if they exile themselves to a calm and snowy environment, the urge to kill would dissipate as well. Although this does result in the snow strider being somewhat lonely due to it not having anyone to kill on the weekends. Also visually, it is up there with the Akai Mao in the looks department. Overall, this is a sexy looking fish. Next up, we have the Div de Ray. Have you ever heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat? Well, that's why the Div de Rays almost went extinct several times. They would try to make friends with everyone, and trust me, trying to make friends with the sharp pointed tip fish will only result in a new hole in your body. However, even with this in mind, they are quite kind, and although a little too curious, they are still well-mannered as well. And to be honest, that derpy face, who could resist it? I'll admit, overall, this is another sexy-looking fish. Next up, we have the Sunset Cloud Angler fish, also referred to as King of the Suck. It is visually a little on the blander side of things. It lacks that vibrance in terms of color. If we're talking about personality, they are kind of clingy, and yes, in the really annoying way. They have what we humans would refer to as that stank breath. This will often make all other fish in a 2-mile radius stay the F away, which is a little mean, yes, and this is why the crippling loneliness of the Sunset Cloud Angler fish makes it very clingy to those who could tolerate it. Overall, it's kind of a basic white girl fish. Next, we have the crystal fish. This is the most visually beautiful, orgasmic fish on this list. It can actually make other fish simply bust while being in its general proximity. In fact, many people think the crystal fish emits a special kind of aroma that attracts all other fish. So in a weird way, every fish that falls in love with the crystal fish is kind of high at the same time. And trust me, a mix of love and high is not a good combination. This fish is, however, very well-mannered, and you know, it doesn't mean any harm by simply existing. Even though it's a little messed up in nature, it's still a sexy-looking fish. Next, we have the Formalo ray. The Formalo ray is known to be one of the oldest living fish, which is probably why it looks wrinkly and smelly when compared to the more majestic Div de Ray. It's also curious, like its golden brother, however there is a difference. The Formalo ray can tell if another fish is friendly simply by licking the other fish's ass. This is most likely due to the wisdom of the Formalo ray, although he is definitely losing some table manner points because they don't usually ask for consent before licking another fish's booty. Overall, this fish is a good mix of pros and cons. It is an above average fish. And finally, we have the True Fruit Angler. This fish is known for having almost no bones, and because of this, they like to suck off the bones of other sea life. In fact, one time, a true fruit angler almost sucked all the bones off of a shark. Unfortunately, there were too many bones to digest, and the true fruit angler died the way he lived, by sucking. Visually though, they are pretty cute, looking kind of like a rotten apple. And they are well-mannered in the sense that they always make sure to wipe their mouth after engaging in the suck. Overall, it is a pretty sexy looking fish. Thank you for watching, you majestic stallions. Be sure to let me know what you think is the sexiest fish of Genshin Impact. Please be sure to subscribe for more cracked out content like this. And with that in mind, take care guys and have a good one.